The World Walker expansion has been very successful so far, with all 4 champions released in the set finding a home in competitive decks. The meta has been very diverse, with no decks going over the limit of Riot's win rate metrics. However, Legends of Runeterra has always thrived with frequent balance changes, and patch 3.10 for LOR will be coming shortly in the next days. Steve Rubin, one of the game designers of LOR, has released some spicy information about the patch in his tweets. From what he has said so far, there are 40 plus individual card changes coming in the patch. In another tweet, he mentioned that out of these 40 plus changes, 10 of them will be nerfs to meta decks which are aimed to have a small or medium impact. Which is why in this video, I will try to predict these 10 scheduled nerfs for patch 3.10.
Good enough for more.
I'll start by mentioning 2 honorable mentions that didn't quite make my final predictions: Bird the Bellringer and the Winding Light. Although I do feel that these 2 cards are slightly overtuned, I'm not expecting Riot to nerf them because they've just been released. And now, let's start with the actual list. First up in my predictions is a nerf to Zenith Blade. A few weeks ago, Steve Rubin has made some tweets suggesting that they are looking into this card as a potential target for a nerf. Zenith Blade is a key component of Pantheon Yuumi, one of the meta kings prior to the World Walker expansion. The deck has been struggling lately due to its poor matchups against Noxus decks running Ravenous Flock. However, nothing has fundamentally changed about the power level of Pantheon Yuumi. With some slight meta shifts, it can easily find itself back on top. My prediction for Zenith Blade is that they will change the text of the card from Daybreak, draw a Zenith Blade, to Daybreak, draw a Zenith Blade if you behold another Daybreak card. This change to Zenith Blade will have a very big impact on the deck. It's also possible that we see a health reduction to Saga Seeker from 2 health to 1 health, but I think this won't be necessary as I think a nerf to Zenith Blade will already be very impactful. Second in my predictions is Gleaming Lantern. Gleaming Lantern's ability to swarm the board with Phase proved to be very powerful because you can pair up the Fair package with almost any region and still come out with a deck that can perform decently in ladder. Fizz Riven and Fizz Aphelios are the 2 decks that stood out among these Fey decks. Fizz Aphelios is still a very strong deck. However, it went down in popularity due to the rise of Lissandra Thralls. With Thralls most likely getting hit by the nerf hammer as well, it's very likely that we will see the Fey Swarm package dominate the meta if they are left untouched. I predict a slight nerf to Gleaming Lantern by reducing its health from 3 to 2. This will reduce the card's ability to trade into smaller units, and it will make it more vulnerable to removal spells like Mystic Shot or Piltover Peacemaker. The third card in my list is either Papercraft Dragon or Fizz. Papercraft Dragon exposes a fundamental imbalance in Fizz's card design. Fizz is a very cheap unit that can be buffed up to grow into an unstoppable powerhouse that quickly puts a clock on your Nexus health. I personally think that Riot would not address Fizz in patch 3.10 as he probably would need a total rework if he will be a target for a change. This is why I think Papercraft Dragon will take the nerf hammer instead, and I'm predicting a reduction to its power from 2 to 1. This change will significantly reduce the damage dealt by decks that revolve around the Fizz Papercraft Dragon combo. Number 4 in my list is Demasia's most notorious 2-cost unit, Petricite Broadwing. Petricite Broadwing has been a key component in most Demacia decks ever since its release. Prior to the World Walker expansion, it helped Misfortune Scouts and Sivir Action to be a dominant force in the meta. And now, this bird is lending its wings to Bard Demacia decks as it can snowball quite hard if buffed up with Bard's Chimes. The change that I'd like to see is to add a clause to Petricite Broadwing such that it only gains Challenger for a turn when you summon another allied unit, similar to how Fleet Feather Tracker works. However, I feel that this is a rework to the card and we are more likely to see a change to its stats or numbers instead. I can see Riot changing Petricite Broadwing to become a 2-mana 0-2 or a 3-mana 0-3 unit. The fifth card in my list is Frozen Thrall. Lissandra Thralls is the most played deck of the World Walker expansion. The 2 new support cards for Frozen Thralls removed most of the consistency problems that the deck previously had. I can say with confidence that if you're unable to climb ranks with Lissandra Thralls, you're probably playing the deck wrong. The nerf that I would expect to this archetype is an increase to Frozen Thralls countdown from 8 turns to 10 turns. This would be very similar to how they previously nerfed Mono Shurima by delaying their power spike by 2 turns. The next card in my list is Legion Deserter. When combined with Viego's Encroaching Mists, Legion Deserter gets to a very high stat line with minimal effort. You know that it's problematic when Legion Deserter at 5 mana is a better finisher than champions that cost 5 or more. Just compare Legion Deserter to other overwhelmed champions like Gangplank, Darius, Hecarim, or Tryndamere. The nerf that I'd like to see is a keyword change from Overwhelm to Fearsome. I am aware that this change would reduce the power level of the card by a lot, but I really think that at its current state, the card is just really unhealthy for the game. That being said, that's just what I want to happen, but my prediction or expectation for Riot is that they will lower its stats to 4-3 or they will increase its mana cost to 6 instead. If it were up to me, the 6 changes I've predicted so far would already be enough to shake up the meta. However, there are 4 more nerfs scheduled for this patch. I believe that these nerfs will be directed to decks that are not necessarily overpowered but have been meta-dominant for too long. The card leading this category of nerfs is Viego. The Ruined King found a home in several regions, Ionia, Shurima, and now Noxus. Even with a highly probable incoming nerf to Legion Deserter, the Shurima variant with Viego is still a very powerful deck, due to its ability to protect Viego with Ancient Hourglass and Rite of Negation. I predict that Viego will receive a slight nerf to his power from 5 to 4. Next up in my list is Aphelios. The Moon Boy has come a long way since his initial release. After a long sequence of balance changes, Aphelios seems to finally found a sweet spot after the rework to Crescendum. Nevertheless, Aphelios still does too much for a 3-cost card in terms of flexibility and card advantage. I believe that Aphelios will receive a health reduction from 3 to 2, similar to a change that they made to Draven, another powerful 3-cost card. My 9th prediction is a nerf to Ravenous Flock. Ravenous Flock has always been dealing too much damage for a 1-cost card. Just to give some perspective, you can compare Ravenous Flock to higher cost spells like Black Spear, Rite of the Arcane, and Paddle Star. I'm predicting that Ravenous Flock will have its damage reduced from 4 to 3. The final pick for my predictions is Ferros Financier. Manifest is a very powerful mechanic, and I'm expecting Ferros Financier to be hit sooner or later, joining Conchologist, Bandle City Mayor, and Loping Telescope to the list of Manifest cards that have been subject to the nerf hammer. The nerf I'm expecting is a reduction in Ferros Financier's health from 2 to 1. That's it for my predictions for the 10 cards that are scheduled to be nerfed for patch 3.10. Do you agree with my list? Did I miss out on any card? Let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the other videos on my channel where I make detailed guides on how to get better in LOR or a specific deck. Hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.
First the smoke, then the fire, then the death!
Is excellent.